الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العالمين، وله كبرياء السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد رضا. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله وأمين على وحيه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, all praise and glory and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the verses that we just recited, and we recite every Jumu'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, "O you believe, be mindful of Allah as is His due. اتقوا الله حق تقاته." That's a big challenge for us and standard to reach. And then in the second verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you believe, be mindful of Allah and let everyone check what they have prepared for tomorrow, for meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ وَمَا تُقَدِّمُ لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِندَ اللَّهِ خَيْرًا وَأَعْظَمَ أَجْرًا." My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, even though the hope is fading for a ceasefire in Gaza, but we are still hoping and praying that something happens in the next couple of days, and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should pray now, and we should pray in Ramadan, intensify our dua for the people of Gaza in this month, if that's the only thing we can do. And we should be generous, at least in our dua to them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate their suffering. Allahumma faraj karbahum, اللهم فرج كربهم ونفس كربهم وفرج همهم واجعل لهم من كل ضيق مخرجا ومن كل هم فرجا. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, 2 days before the month of Ramadan, it will not be appropriate to talk about anything else. There are times of the year when the subject of the topic for khotbah is something that is dictated by the circumstances. This is the month of Siyam and Qiyam and Quran and Dua, the month of fasting, the month of night prayers, the month of Quran, and the month of Dua. In the same verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, when He mentions fasting, mentions the Quran, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن, and then He concluded by saying, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. It's an invitation to make dua. So it's in the same series of verses, fasting, and then Quran. This is the month of Quran, and then conclude by invitation to make to intensify your dua in the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you believe, the fasting decreed upon you as it was decreed upon those before you, that you may become righteous. Fasting for a limited number of days, so whoever among you is ill or on a journey, then an equal number of other days are to be made up, and upon those who are able to fast but with hardship, the ransom as substitute of feeding a poor person each day, and whoever volunteer good, it is better for him, but to fast is best for you if you only knew." And then the month of Ramadan is that in which was revealed the Quran, and at the end of the verses, "When my servant asks you concerning me, indeed I am near." Allah does not even say, "Tell them I am near." He said, "I am near." If they ask about me, I am near. Because you expect the verse to say, "Tell them pioneer that was removed in a very eloquent way to tell you how close Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to us. I respond to the invocation of the supplicant. أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. When he calls upon me. فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون. لعلهم يتقون in the beginning, لعلهم يرشدون in the end, so that they might be guided. And subhanAllah, the verse goes on to say something that I did not pay attention to it before. It came, as I said, every time you read Quran, you come across a verse as if you read it for the first time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the remaining verses says, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. It has been made permissible for you the night preceding fasting to go to your wives for sexual relations, because it was not permissible in the beginning. Sisters, please, it was not permissible in the beginning. And then come to my mind why it was not permissible in the beginning. And then it was made lawful, was allowed, this intimate relationship. It's, subhanAllah, an indication, clear indication, that in Ramadan, people are expected to be exclusively worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night, and leave everything else to the absolute minimum. So that's why it was prohibited in the beginning, and then it was permitted, which means that not only during the day you abstain from eating and drinking, but you are supposed to be in a state of worship the whole month and keep everything else to the absolute minimum. You have to work, you have to sleep, you have to eat, but all of these activities have to be kept to the minimum. And anything else other than worshipping in Ramadan is considered a distraction. This is confirmed, this idea is confirmed by a hadith in which Rasul says, إذا كان يوم صوم أحدكم فإذا كان يوم صوم أحدكم فلا يرفض ولا يسخط فإن سابه أحد أو شاتمه فليقل إني امرؤ صائم. When you are fasting, you should control your tongue, because fasting is not about only food and drink. It's restraining your senses. And even if someone wants to pick a fight with you, say, sorry, I'm fasting. Someone is insulting you, someone picking fight. It's very similar to the state when you are praying and someone is about to cross, you tell them that, you give them a sign that you are praying. Here, you tell them that I'm fasting. I'm in a state of worship. I cannot respond. I have no time for this because I am in a state of worship. So we do that in Ramadan as a reminder that this whole life is an act of worship. So in Ramadan we are reminded about something very fundamental, that we were created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all our life should be an act of worship. The only difference between Ramadan and outside Ramadan is what? Is in Ramadan, most of the worship is spiritual, is the direct worship between you and Allah, prayer, Quran, etc. Outside Ramadan, most of the worship is indirect, is what you do to others, serving the Creator by serving the creation, serving Allah by helping people and by making this world a better place. So you see the difference? You are in a state of worship all your life. But in Ramadan, it's directed more to what they call in management capacity building. In Ramadan, you are recharging your batteries and you are increasing your spirituality and upgrading your iman. Outside Ramadan, you're going to be using that energy for the rest of the year to pursue that mission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigned to us. So the companions were described as rahbanan bil-layl, fursanan bin-nahar. During the night, the companions used to be acting like monks, They spend the whole night praying, or most of the night. And during the day, they were fulfilling that great mission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has assigned to them. You can say something very similar. You can say that the Muslim should be Rahbanan fi Ramadan and Fursanan for the rest of the year. During Ramadan, they are into prayer, Quran, dua, salah, etc., dhikr, and outside Ramadan, they're going to be using that energy that they harness in Ramadan to pursue the mission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has assigned to them. So, to make the most, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so merciful, to help us making the most out of Ramadan, He put in it so many opportunities. So lots of opportunities to increase our incentive to do good in Ramadan. Rewards are multiplied or discounted. You do something in Ramadan, you get the rewards of more than 70 times the same thing outside Ramadan. So rewards are multiplied and discounted. And you know that when things are discounted, people want to do more. Like it happened in sales. When you hear about there is big sale in a store, people will rush there and buy more, buy even things they don't need or they don't have the money for it. Same thing, when you have good deeds and rewards are discounted, that's a way to encourage us to do more during the month of Ramadan. There is one night that is better than life. It is one night, this is a month in which there is one night better than life. Because again, خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ, better than 1,000 months. It's just an eloquent Arabic way to say better than life. Because who lives more than 1,000 months? I mean, 1,000 months is 84 years more. So if you start from like age of 16, that's 100 years. Or age of 12, that's 96 years. So rather than saying better than life, Quran says better than 1,000 months. ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر. The biggest prize in Ramadan is to have all your sins forgiven. غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. You have an opportunity to start on a clean slate after Ramadan. So your book now is in somewhere. It's mixed bag. In Ramadan, you have the opportunity to wipe out all the sins and to accumulate mountains of hasanat. It's a very big transformation of your standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because your standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is determined by your book. اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. Be your own judge, because that's what is going to determine your destiny. In this great month, you have an opportunity to change that book completely. Cleanse it completely from all the sins, and then accumulate mountains of good deeds. That's why Rasulullah in one time he was climbing the member and he was saying Ameen 3 times. But the companion did not hear anything why he's saying Ameen. So they asked him after that, and he said Jibreel was talking to him, and in one of the Ameen that he said, it was about a statement by Jibreel saying رغم أنف رجل أنف رجل دخل عليه رمضان ثم انسلخ قبل أن يغفر له. فالرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم said Ameen. That it was really an idiot or a silly or cursed loser, failure, a person who attained Ramadan and emerged out of it without having his sins forgiven. He missed the opportunity. رغم أنف رجل دخل عليه رمضان ثم انسلخ قبل أن يغفر له أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. There is an opportunity to be among those who are going to be exempt from hellfire, to be from the Utaqa. In Ramadan, you can make that list. You know, in school there is the deen list. In Ramadan, you can make that list. You can be among those will be exempt from hellfire. So there is an opportunity for complete transformation of your book and your record with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then salah in the rest of the year will try to maintain, with salah to maintain that level that you acquired in Ramadan. You know, salah, if it is done properly, it can take care of the daily sins. From the salah to salah, you get those sins forgiven. Ramadan will take care of all life sins. غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنبِهِ. So from one salah to another, you have some minor sins here and there. If salah is done properly, it will cleanse them. But then comes Ramadan and can cleanse everything that happened in your life before. Now, all those opportunities are incentives. These are not the goals. Everything that I mentioned is not the goal. Am I saying that reading Quran and praying at night is not the goal? Yeah, it's not the goal. Quran says that. Even fasting itself is not the goal. Even fasting is a tool. So all these are meant for, so what is the goal? The goal is mentioned explicitly in Quran. It says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Opportunities, environments, incentives to do more. That's it? No. So that you may reach the highest level of taqwa. And what is taqwa? That's what, inshallah, we're going to be explaining. How this is confirmed? How this confirmed that everything we do in Ramadan is not the goal. It's the tool or the means towards the bigger goal. Hadith in which Rasul says, من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Whoever does not abstain from vain talk, from sins, from haram in Ramadan, Allah is in no need for him to abstain from food and drink. Basically it says he may as well eat and drink. There is no point. Because it's very silly to abstain from halal and indulge in haram. These are people who miss the point completely about Ramadan. If they fast from halal, abstain from halal, and indulge in haram, they miss the point. If they fast but they don't take advantage of these opportunities, they miss the point. If they fast and they do better in Ramadan, but there will be no permanent improvements after Ramadan, they still miss the point. As we're going to, inshallah, explain more. So what is this taqwa? That is the goal of everything that we do in Ramadan. So that we need to keep in mind that we are working towards a goal. So that the means do not become goals in themselves. We're doing everything, all of this to reach the highest level of taqwa and iman. And that's the goal of fasting, and that's the goal of every ibadah. Every act of worship is meant to make you a better person and a stronger person and closer to Allah. If it doesn't do that, then it is an obsolete act of worship. It's not doing the job. It's like you have an AC or heater or refrigerator. It's working, but it's not cooling. It's not doing the job. You're not bringing it to hear the noise. You are buying it so that it can cool the food or cool the house for you. If it is not doing the job, then it is useless. Very similarly, if you're doing those acts of worship and you're not getting the fruits of them, then you are missing. You are not doing them properly. What does it mean to reach the highest level of taqwa and iman? One is to try to be the best version of yourself. That's the word tasbih. At Ramadan, all of this that we do in Ramadan, so that you can be the best version possible of yourself. And number two is to maximize your contribution to the greater good. What is it that you're contributing to people around you and to the world to make this world a better place? What is your impact? What's your contribution? The highest level of taqwa and iman translates into this. translates into these two key words of tazkiyah and Islam. From a different angle, or in other words, the highest level of taqwa and iman, that is the goal of Ramadan, means to reach the highest motivation to do good. You become very motivated to do good. Very motivated to worship, very motivated to help, very motivated to do good. And to increase your ability to restrain yourself. You want to measure, evaluate your level of taqwa and iman, you can do that before and after Ramadan. How motivated you are to do good. Do you wake up to pray Fajr excited or reluctant? You go, and that applies to any other prayer. Are you motivated to help people, or even when they ask for your help, you're reluctant? So, how motivated you are to do good, that's a good measure of your iman and taqwa. And how strong is your ability to restrain yourself from something that is haram, something that can harm you or can harm others. You restrain your tongue, you restrain your senses, you restrain yourself from harming others. The opportunities in Ramadan, the rewards that are multiplied, are meant to work on the first item. Increase your motivation to do good. So good deeds, rewards are discounted, multiplied. You'll be more encouraged to do good. You keep doing it for a whole month. It becomes your habit. You can continue to do it for the rest of the year. And the fasting is meant to strengthen the second ability, restraining yourself. The highest level of restraining yourself is to restrain yourself from the necessities of life. If I can't stay long hours without eating and drinking, there is nothing else that they cannot abandon. There is nothing else that they cannot restrain myself from. Because this is the highest, the greatest necessities of life. You tell me that I can abstain from eating and drinking for long hours, and then I cannot control my tongue or my anger or my eyesight? No. So the good deeds and the opportunities are meant to strengthen your motivation to do good, and the fasting is meant to strengthen your ability to restrain yourself. So if you have a bad habit you want to get rid of, that's the time in Ramadan. If you have an anger problem, remember, you should reach the level, even when someone is provoking you, say I'm fasting. That's the highest level of managing anger. So anybody who has an anger problem, that's the moment the opportunity to manage that. Any bad habit, people who are smoking, that's the time. Because you only have very short time to resist, to restrain yourself. I mean, if you stick to the ideal situation in Ramadan, which is you pray Taraweeh and you go to sleep and you wake up in Fajr, you wake up for Suhoor and Fajr, and maybe you don't go back to sleep. All what you need is to resist the temptation between Maghrib and Isha. So rather than resisting the temptation for smoking or for any addiction or any bad habit for the whole day and night, now the whole day is given. So you only have that 1 hour, just resist that temptations, and you can quit smoking in Ramadan. Any good habits that you want to acquire. One of the best habits that you can acquire in Ramadan is to train yourself to sleep early and wake up early. There is no better opportunity to acquire that. I know it's very hard to acquire, because habits are not easy to change. You have been doing things for decades or for years. It's not easy, but that's the opportunity. Just from day one, resist that temptation to go back to sleep, and you will acquire that habit of sleeping early and waking up early, and it will continue with you for life. And that's same thing for eating healthy. One of the hard things to do is to resist the temptation of eating during the day and snacking. That's gone in Ramadan. So just be careful during the Maghrib time. Don't indulge in in food, try to keep the minimum and eat healthy. Eating healthy is much easier in Ramadan than outside of Ramadan, because again, you are already fasting. And one of the most effective diets nowadays is the intermittent fasting, that people do not eat like for 16 hours and eat for 8 hours or less. In Ramadan, that's automatic. It's done automatically. You just need to be careful during the time of eating. So building your taqwa reserves, that's the purpose of Ramadan. Filling your taqwa tanks, that's the purpose of Ramadan, doing that for the rest of the year. Then, as I said, comes Salah to help you maintaining that level that you acquire in Ramadan for the rest of the year. After Ramadan, you are someone who, hopefully, inshallah, you have a successful month and you reach new heights, new level. You worked so hard to reach that, and then you have greater motivation after Ramadan to defend that, to stay there. Like any success in life, you work so hard to achieve it, and then you become so motivated to defend it. They say someone is defending their title. The team works very hard to win a title, but the next year they have that motivation, they are defending their title holder. An athlete who breaks the record, the world record, in the next tournament, they are very motivated to maintain and to defend that record and keep it or even break it. And someone who has successful Ramadan and that helped them reaching a higher level or new height, they will be very motivated after Ramadan than to stay there and to defend those successes. So Ramadan, that's the purpose again of Ramadan. Everything else that we do is the tool, has take full advantage. The bottom line, that in Ramadan you should be exclusively worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unless there is something that you have to do, that which should be kept as a minimum and should be considered as a distraction. You are worshipping, you are praying, you are reading and studying the Quran, you are making dua, you are making dhikr, etc. Unless there is something that you have to do. Time Maghrib, you need to eat, time to sleep, you need to go to work. That's something that is beyond your control. The time under your control should be dedicated as much as possible to spiritual development. All the ibadat, including Ramadan, if you put them in perspective, in Islam, they are part of your tazkiyah plan, your self-development plan. And these ibadat, they are meant to do two things. One, we do them to express our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You feel so grateful to Allah and you want to express that, go and pray. So ibadat are expression of love and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they strengthen your iman. They create this energetic cycle. You have an iman, you have a feeling towards Allah, you express it by worship. That worship will strengthen those feelings. Those feelings will make you more motivated to worship. And that cycle does not end. It's a very synergetic cycles. And these ibadat, they are part of your tazkiyah plan for the people they are meant for the people who are on a mission. Because the mission of Islam that Allah has assigned to us is huge, very demanding. So we need that refueling and that recharging. That's how the companions look at the ibadat. The ibadat, they need them so that they become stronger, so that they can keep going in fulfilling their mission. And that's why when Muslims abandon their missions, those ibadat became obsolete. You see the disconnect? There are ibadat that are meant for a goal, to increase your taqwa so that you can better fulfill your mission. You abandon your mission and you're still doing the tasks, but these tasks now have no purpose. That's why you have all kinds of weird scenarios and situations among Muslims. You have Muslims who fast but do not pray. Very strange. Why? Because it became part of habit and culture, something routine. It's not like it was detached and disconnected from its culture. You have people who fast from halal and indulge in haram. You have people who only fast. They don't do anything different in Ramadan. They just don't eat, so they change their meal time, their eating time. That's the only thing that happens in Ramadan. And this category exists also among Muslims. Inshallah, we all try to avoid all of these scenarios and categories. You have people who think that Ramadan is only during the day. The night is something else. The night is for TV and coffee shops and staying late at night and vain talk. They don't realize Ramadan is a whole continuous month. It doesn't stop at Maghrib and resume at Suhoor. No, it's a continuous, and resume at Fajr. It's a continuous month. And so this is a large percentage and fraction of populations will fit in any of these categories. You have people who, in Ramadan, they spend more time in food-related activities than outside Ramadan. And in the month of fasting, that was meant to minimize distraction. In Ramadan, people spend more time grocery shopping, cooking, and eating. So food-related activities increase in Ramadan among the majority or large number of people, unfortunately. And you have many people who may do better in Ramadan, but after Ramadan they close the parenthesis and they go back business as usual, the same exact person who entered the month of Ramadan. And beyond these categories, there are only very few people that we all try to be, inshallah, among them, the ones who work hard in Ramadan to attain, to reach new heights of taqwa and iman, to keep that after Ramadan and to emerge from Ramadan, not only with a much better book of deeds, hasanat, but also a much better person with a complete transformation of yourself, not only of your book with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa tubu ila Allahi innahu ghafurur rahim. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوب اليه. نعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. But dear respected brother and sister in Islam, it's only a couple of days, so try to start preparing yourself mentally, start putting together plans and schedule, very strict schedule. Time is very precious in Ramadan. Make sure that you don't waste any of it, and then put in mind that your goal is complete transformation. It's really to emerge from Ramadan very different person, much better person, and also to reach a much higher level of taqwa and iman. Inshallah, we'll come back to talk more about this great season that we all, inshallah, try to make it very successful and very effective. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وتوفنا وتراض عنا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا واجعل خير أعمالنا خواتمها وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك ومتعنا اللهم بنظر إلى وجهك الكريم. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربنا صغارا وارحم موتانا وجميع موتى المسلمين. اللهم بلغنا رمضان واجعلنا ممن يصومونه إيمانا واحتسابا. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأقم الصلاة.